next speaker, Stefan Moritz, is going to talk about Spotify. How many of you have Spotify accounts? Okay. How many of you share your Spotify accounts? This is just an observation from my side that, you know, when you share your Spotify account and you have it on your mobile, I feel like it's the digital blanket pulling of our times. Blanket pulling when you're in bed and you've got your partner and it's cold and you pull the blanket and then it gets, yeah, so that's just like my observation, that when I'm using my Spotify account and my partner then turns on his and I get stopped, and it becomes this little blanket pulling between us. And I think that's just, such a nice sort of human thing that you kind of realize from the service. Yeah, so sorry, all yours.
Thank you
Stefan.
very much. Well, it can be nice, can also be problematic. Last time I had the children party at our house, my daughter turned 5, I think. And my wife was in the gym. Smart of her, but then I hijacked her Spotify to play children music, and she always got annoyed and texted me. So there are flaws in the ecosystem, and I'm going to talk about an app today, which is kind of interesting because normally we tell clients you need to think in ecosystems, and we help them build capabilities to think bigger and do real insight and set up labs. But I thought to give you a little bit of behind the scenes and some real focus, which the guys asked me for. This is a really nice case. And I thought, because now you've all been sitting here, I'll ask you all to stand up again. And there won't be any massage, unfortunately, but stand up. Magnus as well. And I would like to, think about some dance music and do some silent disco on your spot, just to loosen up a little bit. Come on, everybody. It looks really good. Just in case you weren't, in case of stiff Germans, I brought some music as well. But I thought it's not, yeah. Come on. Okay, thank you. So everybody is loosened up again. So Spotify, everybody knows, that's great. And the tale or the story I wanted to tell you about is about service design, balancing brand and tech, focus on user experience, and non-stop prototyping. So that sounds okay? That's kind of what service design should be all about. And I've translated it into a little bit of a dance analogy, even though it's crappy. But sometimes crappy analogies kind of work for people to be on the same page. So it's going to be about mix, dance, and play, the 3 things I want you to remember after this. And starting about mix, we basically in this project had 2 clients. One was the Spotify team. They never hire outside agencies to design anything for them. They do everything in-house. So this was an exception, mostly because they were too busy. And they obviously have the brand as their main thing. But the brand for Spotify also means the user experience. So for them, it was all about their ecosystem, their service. They understood what their users wanted. And bringing that to a new app is obviously, from their perspective, a challenge about translating their brand and their experience into one context. And then we had the Microsoft client, who have launched the new marvelous Microsoft phone platform that was just about finished. It was really cool. They were really proud. There were new features, really exciting. And they wanted to obviously show the power of their platform. And I think oftentimes in projects, there is this sort of thing we need to mix, this thing we need to balance. It's not only about one client. It's always about understanding the different things. What can technology do? What should it do? What does the brand offer? How can we stretch it? So that's about mixing. And the Spotify experience that we got out of it was sort of trying to find the right mix, and I think we succeeded quite well. It's been well applauded and very successful. So let's talk about dance. And by dance, I sort of mean the skid marks on the floor, where the rubber hits the road type thing. It's all about the customer experience. And obviously, if you have used Spotify, you all know that search is kind of the main thing that people want. You want to find your music, your song. You've thought about, what do you think about normally when you think about music?
Good music.
Good music, you can't search for that. But, maybe something pops up and you discover. But search is the main thing. And search in the mobile platform wasn't really a part of the apps. It was part of the operating system. So we had to figure out a way to really bring that technology into the app in a totally new way. And we had to work very closely with the team at Microsoft to make that happen. So that was quite fun to see how you can stretch what they've come up with. And now that way of thinking has also been kind of scaled out in other developments, which is exciting. The other thing was that in the desktop app on Spotify, you have lots of features that are really cool, that are really social, and that are really important. And they weren't in any other mobile apps. And we wanted to obviously show that that can be done with Windows Mobile, but also be more true to the brand than previous mobile apps were. So it's always that kind of pushing and negotiating and balancing. And we looked at all the features that there were, what do people want to do, and obviously worked very user-driven as one does, ideally. And then we mapped out the whole landscape ecosystem within the app and how it should work, and used a lot of prototyping alongside that mapping. But as always, it's the sort of switch of views that sometimes you have the overall map, and sometimes you're on a prototype and you need to kind of switch. But I think the main thing was that our eyes were always on the user experience all the way, and that was kind of the thing that helped us hold it all together. And then when it comes to play, the thing that is really interesting in the Windows Phone sort of style is also kind of a strong design language. And when it came then to the sort of final concepting, that was a real challenge to find a way that wasn't actually getting in the way of the Spotify experience, but that we used that to enhance it. So I think we've done the same process sort of on different levels of getting there. And you can see that a lot of apps on Windows Phone use this sort of beautiful panorama analogy, which is a really nice wallpaper-ish way of experiencing, which suited, if you do it the right way, the Spotify experience really well. But oftentimes the apps sort of stop on the surface level. So you have one long wallpaper you can go through, and that's it. And then you do the normal stuff. But actually, we used that to look at music and other contents deeper down as well. So it became a more harmonious experience, really using the platform to its top ability. And then it's called groundbreaking, new pinch concept. But at that time, there was a fundamental problem with all of those apps, that when you were somewhere, you couldn't just jump back to the context. Now a lot of apps have a menu on the left, and there have been different solutions to this. But that was kind of the first time we tried to solve how you could allow people to kind of intuitively work on different levels. And now again, that's been used across a few other apps as well. And then when it comes to dancing and playing, I mean, we've talked so much about prototyping today. Is there anybody that's not convinced yet about prototyping? So I don't have to bang on about it anymore. But I think the power of prototyping in combination with this relentless focus on users, that's really where the magic happens. Because when you talk to clients, they always get the numbers out, but they don't really understand what people want and why they want it. So the prototyping is a good negotiation. And somebody said earlier, you can use the numbers to build a foundation underneath gut feeling. I think that's really interesting. But I think that you can use prototyping almost to connect also the other way and provide a bit more robustness onto your intuition and try things out and make it more interesting for people that come from different perspectives to work together. And ultimately, in this project where you can imagine Microsoft on the one side of the ocean and Spotify on the other, it's not easy to kind of negotiate that. And I think prototyping was a key way we made that happen. There were no specs written in this project. It was all prototypes all the time. And we do a lot of work with lead user engagement and lead user research. We have a project now with IKEA and the Interactive Institute really pushing how can you work with lead users in prototyping, in analysis, in research. And I think that angle also helped us to give it a little bit of an edge, to kind of work with people that are kind of going to the next level with using the app and involving them and prototyping with them. So that was really interesting. And then you can see different ways the detail emerged here. And that's sort of the final design. And obviously, it's very nice when that sort of mixing together different perspective lands in something that by users, by critics, by clients gets really recognized as something special and nice, and is also used on different levels than for inspiring the future solutions. So we're very proud of that. And I hope you got sort of a little bit of an insight into how that worked like. And I just wanted to sort of land on my bad music analogy again. So you have kind of three things to remember. It's about balancing the brand and technology. It's about relentless focus on the user experience. And in that case, it's really about the context that people are using that service in. So you need to be part of the ecosystem, but also understand that context that people are in, that you're designing for. And it's about non-stop prototyping as the glue, if you like. Cool. Any questions?
Okay.
I'm ahead of time, am I?
Yes.
Good.
So you can do more dancing if you like.
Do you want more dancing?
There's a crowd more dancing, one more dancing. Okay.
What does the rabbit say?
The rabbit says, you have time for a good dance track.
Okay, so sorry, I was a bit too quick. Any questions about Spotify? Or any thoughts?
No? Okay.
Everybody is tired. Do you want more? What's that, sorry?
Maybe tell us a little bit about the interface.
Yeah. So the interface, I mean, in general, you would say the interface is kind of how you interact with the service ecosystem overall, and then this is one part of the interface. And in that particular interaction for us, the most important thing was that people get a new experience out of that new phone, and we need to be kind of part of that in a natural way, but also allow the Spotify experience to shine through. So one of the things that was really important is to bring the social features into the app, which wasn't there before. So the interface was more about your friends and people and sharing. The interface was also trying to not be in the way and have the music and your music experience be in the forefront. And I think the way that we sort of used the features that the platform had to give, some that we knew before, some that were new, and some that we developed together with them, that really helped us sort of put a new perspective on what we already knew about the experience. But I think what was special about working with Spotify as a client is that they have a really strong design culture, a strong design team, and a strong design lead. So they had the beacon of knowledge and the beacon of brand in their hands, and we needed to make sure that through the collaboration with them, we were still part of the overall ecosystem. And I'd be interested in your views on apps within ecosystems, because I think it's one challenge to bring the ecosystem into one experience, but it's also interesting the other way around, right? Yes?
Wait, microphone's coming.
The microphones are called cucumber here. Yeah. I've just seen.
Hello. Just wondering, you said that Spotify never really uses external agencies. Mm-hmm. Could you say anything about whether this changed their perspective and how it was to work with somebody who actually don't want to work with external consultants, and if this actually have changed Spotify's view?
I'm not sure, actually, to give you the honest answer. We would have to ask them that. Maybe I should. But I think there are a lot of brands that are rethinking the way that they are holding their more core, strategic, and insightful things, and use partners in different ways. So I think it's a really interesting and exciting space for people to open up in partnerships with some of their sort of most holy parts. But this one was a real privilege to work with them, of course.
Okay, good.
Cool.
So, great. So
Thank you very
so
much.
much, Stefan. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So.